Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path. Welcome to the start of our 2023 border track trip. By the way, if you want to pick up some stickers or patches, jump onto our Buy Me a Coffee page, buymeacoffee.com/OTBP, Off the Beaten Path. You can pick up stickers and patches there if you're interested. Or you can just donate coffee and buy me a virtual coffee to support the channel and what we do. So coming with us on this trip, of course, I'm coming on the trip. Always got to have that one guy that plays in the mud and makes things look hard. Got to be there. Also coming on the trip is Dan from Out There with Dan in the Iron Emu, his revamped 90 Series Prado. Coming along with us as well is Trippy Matt, pushing that 75 Series Trippy as hard as he possibly can and making short work of the border track. Of course, no trip's complete without Luca, the Italian chef, pushing that TB48. And we also have Paul with us again, Mr. Control, bringing along his FJ Cruiser. So epic trip, can't wait to get into it. Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path. Now today we're picking up at the Red Bluff Camp Ground up here, and our goal is to get to the ocean and finish the border part of this trip today. So it was always going to be a long day, and what you can see here is our planned route. So the plan is out of the Red Bluff Campground, back onto the border track. Just about here is where the big rodeo dune is. Over the rodeo dune, continuing south. Now, this section of the border track from Blue Hills Road onwards, none of us have driven before. This is where the Blue Hills Road here is where we exited when I did the trip with Luca and Adam. So the plan is to continue south. Where there's a track on the border, some sections like through here, that's the border, there is no track. So we know we're going to have to divert around those. And then we will skirt the western edge of the Little Desert National Park. So it should be good. And then again, here's a section where there's no actual track on the border. So the plan was to skirt that as close as we could. So just here we almost get back to the Wimmera Highway, sort of just east of Narracourt, and we get back on the border for a short section and then parallel it again for another few kilometres, and then from here we're back on the border for this southern section. Pretty much all the way. There's a lot of pine plantations through here, and it looks like there is actually a border road, border track. We passed just east of Penola there. Again, short section here where there is no track on the border. We have to divert around that. Back onto the border, continuing south. We cross the Glenelg Highway, pass just east of Mount Gambier, and continue on the border almost down to the Princess Margaret Rose Caves, where we hit the Glenelg River, and then take the track around past Donovan's onto Glenelg River Road, down to Picaninny Ponds, where we hit the ocean and we complete the Murray to the ocean, the Murray to the beach part of this trip. That's the plan, guys. As you'll see, it doesn't quite go to plan. We do get to the beach, but just not the way we thought we were going to. Hey everyone, Jason here from Off the Beaten Path, and here we are at Red Bluff Campground the next morning, and I'm getting some breakfast ready. Now, I crashed pretty early the night before. I was pretty tired after walking up and down those sand dunes. And you can see I'm walking a bit gingerly there. I get Achilles tendonitis. And the sand sort of messed with that a bit.
Yeah, anyway, so just where we pulled up at first. Yeah.
So this footage was taken by Dan from Out There with Dan. And unbeknownst to me, after I went to bed last night, the guys decided to do a walk this morning up to Red Bluff. So I got up and was organising my breakfast, and as you can see, there's nobody in camp. Look, to be fair, I probably wouldn't have been in shape to walk up there anyway, the way my Achilles was playing up on this day after being on the soft sand. So yeah, breakfast at camp. The guys went up to Red Bluff, which is probably about a 1 kilometre walk or so from camp. Quick stop there at the amenities, and we're on the road now. Those tents there, those guys appeared last night. No one heard a vehicle come in. We assume they came in with a vehicle, but there's no vehicle there this morning. They've been dropped off with some supplies and some water and everything, and there's no vehicle there. So, I guess they're relying on that person to come back and pick them up, which is pretty eager. It's pretty remote out here, but we assumed that they knew what they were doing, and that they can rely on the person they're with to come pick them up. So heading back to the border track here, as you can see, when you get back towards the track there, the sand gets pretty soft, and turning left to head south back on the border track. So quick sort of 3-4 kilometre run from the campground out to the border track, and from there we've got about 7 k's south to the rodeo dune, big dune. We won't be stopping and playing on that today. We know we've got a long day. Yesterday was about 55-60 k's. Today is like about 140 or something. But after we get off the actual border track, we're expecting the rest of that to be pretty easy. Now, I say that's what we're expecting. What we expect and what we get may not be the same thing. So yeah, just heading here on that 2-way section of the border track on the left-hand side southbound, with the northbound lane on the other side there. There's Paul with his FJ and Dan in behind. And watch out for the skippies. There's one sitting up and one comes across the track. There he is. So it's not that early in the morning, but early enough that the skippies are around. And nothing like this terrain to remind you just how remote you actually are. So there's the bypass on the right for the big rodeo dune, and taking the left-hand track. And you can see that's actually Dan up ahead of me there. He headed up first to get some footage. Found the sand a bit soft today, and we knew we'd tuned it up yesterday, so I was ready to give the V8 some leg room to stretch out. So you've got this long sort of more gentle climb here. You get to the fork. Now last time we went right, today we're going left, which is kind of the more direct route up over the dune, but very soft. Dan in the middle of the track. And one iron emu. Hang on, guys. So quick move. Now I'm trying to steer to the right and get around Dan, and the car was just drifting back to the left there. Not super apparent from that clip, so the reason I gave it a bit of gas there was I was steering right and just going sideways basically. So here comes Matt now on the big dune with the troopy. And you've given it everything you can. He's just ran out of steam and shot at the top. So we didn't actually come up this one yesterday. We went up the other side.
Nearly made it to the top. There's the lockers going on.
that's just reversing a little bit rather than trying to do the whole thing. He's trying to get a little bit of a run up there, and then you can see just the wheels are starting to spin. Not sure what pressures he's running here, but none of us are running pretty low pressures. Like ideally, you'd be down around 15 psi on stuff like this, and I don't think any of us are running pressures quite that low. See, he's just not quite getting the momentum. It's just kind of digging in, really. And he is twin locked. I suspect he's using both his lockers there. And he's been able to get a little bit more speed up.
That was in second that time.
And that's the challenge. Like, he can get more speed in second, but he doesn't have enough power to push through the sand. So he has decided to have one last go at this one with a bit more of a runner, and he has managed to hit it with a bit more pace.
Go, you good thing. That's it, that's it, that's
and
it.
he's dropped down from second back to first, but he's lost his momentum.
Oh, so close. Yeah.
Without a run up, it's just going to dip in.
No.
So he decided to reverse all the way back and take the right hand line that we drove yesterday, because he made it up this, and although it's a bit bumpier, it's perhaps a little less steep, maybe a little less soft, and once again he's made it up without any problems on that particular line.
Right where Dan was.
So on board here with Luca in his GU TB48 Patrol. Plenty of power.
Yeah, definitely for this kind of sand duny stuff needs that extra little bit of a kick with the
And
turbo.
as you just heard Matt there on the radio,
Yeah, but you know, it's not like you're not
something
driving
that
it.
has been on his list for a while is to hold on a turbo onto that. Now I think it's a 2H that he's got in that Troopy. Really, I'm no good at knowing all the Toyota motors, so I probably got that wrong. So after the big dune, continuing south, and for anyone who watched our border track trip from June in winter, you know, once you get south of the rodeo dune, it's not too long and you start to hit the wet, muddy section of the track. Now, being summer now, it's a lot drier, and these sections that were just flooded and wet and muddy and slippery are not like that, but the ruts are still there as plenty of evidence of what the track was like during winter. So now though, pretty much bone dry and easy enough to navigate around. We knew we had a long day, so we're not stopping to play in any big bog holes like that one there on the left, especially when there's an easy way just to drive around them. And it is a little bit choose your own adventure through this section. There's a number of lines and tracks that you can choose. Another tracking day underway, as you can see. Blue sky, hardly a cloud about. Generally speaking, we're able to maintain a pretty good pace through here. And of course, you know, another quite chewed up section of the track. So you can drive this on the left for a certain period, and then the trees get a little bit too close and you need to either cross over and drive in it, or cross over and drive out. So that's what you can see there. There's a good line there. So that's what I've elected to do, is cross through that track onto the right hand side and then drive out. And just managed to get some footage of the other guys coming through. So here's Matt and the Troopy. Gives you a little bit of perspective on, you know, decent lean up there on the vehicles. But being dry, traction's not really an issue, and it's a lot easier to get through this stuff than when it's wet and slippery, that's for sure. Dan in the Iron Emu, again, nicely sure-footed, good control. And you can see there how that back wheel extended down. He gets really good flex out of that suspension he's got in there. And Luca in the GU, of course, has to take the Luca line and be just a little bit different. But everybody's made it through. And before not too long, we're here at one of the main bog hole sections that we drove last time. So again, there's a nice easy path around here.
Fair income. Well, that answers that. Thanks for some good content. Luca goes right.
So the guys had just jumped out and checked the depth on one of those bog holes, and it was pretty deep. It was like a metre deep. So yeah, needless to say, none of us were driving through that. We didn't want to be spending all day trying to get through this one particular section of the track. And look, for a lot of these you can drive around them. You can see again lots of bog holes there on the right. You've got this track here on the left. It is a little bit cozy, and you certainly don't want to be dropping a wheel off the side, but it's a nice easy way to get past them, that's for sure. Clearly in winter, probably all times of the year, people get out here and play a little bit, and I don't think those bog holes have been bulldozed in for a very long time. And it's probably not super apparent, but there's a heap of bog holes there on the right of screen, and this bypass track or road is almost being constructed around them. So again, you could spend hours getting through that stuff, particularly in winter. And even this bypass track has had some ruts start to develop because it's been driven obviously when it's been very wet and soft. Easy exit here. And as I said earlier, you know we had a long day, and a lot of the terrain ahead of us is stuff that we've never driven. So a few more Ks and we basically get to the end of what any of us have driven on this before, and it becomes a little bit of an exercise in navigation as well, because the actual main border track finishes not too far past Blue Hills Road, and from then on it's kind of an informal thing, and we're hoping to navigate that and stay as close to the border as possible. So yeah, you get these sections through here where you can make really good time, and you don't get to travel all that far before you hit the next section of rutted bog hole terrain, and have to figure out where you're going. You can probably just see on the left of camera there's some quite big bog holes and ruts on the left there. There's a couple of lines through here. You may remember we drove this and it was wet and slippery and muddy back in June. very different today, so I've just opted to take what looked like probably the most well-travelled path. Plenty of traction, no real issue there. Surprised at the flex I'm getting out of that stock suspension, to be quite honest. Just watching how much that wheel is extending, particularly in the back there. Pretty happy with that. As you can see there in this footage, it's pretty lumpy. And here comes Paul in the FJ. That thing is just a beast. It crawls over anything, and Paul's really good on his throttle control. Plenty of clearance at the front with the IFS suspension, and he's got a solid axle in the rear. Running 33s, and the diff always seems to clear. No fuss, no muss. I don't think he even got any dust on the car. And that's another one of the convoy through this obstacle. So Matt in the tribute there, and that was his compressor. I imagine he just activated his lockers. Not all both. He has front and rear lockers. So the leaf springs don't flex as much as the coils. You can see lifting a tyre coming in there. Small lift there that we just missed off on camera. A little bit of a lift there as well, and again. So very different with the leaf suspension. And it's probably one of the reasons the front and rear lockers was such an important upgrade from that in that vehicle. Another one of the convoy through with no issues. So Luca is looking to drive the Luca line. He's been watching and figured out where there's an alternate line, and he's driving straight at Dan. Just managed to span those ruts, keep all four tyres on the ground nicely, and find an easy line through.
There it is.
That was actually my line. Not the same one.
And rejoins the main track at the end. So Dan's elected in the INU to take the same line as the rest of us. And he just got caught out here with his wheel alignment. With his tyres turned more to the left than I think he was expecting, which is easy to do. We've all been there and done that, but no harm, no foul here. Just realign the car.
Driver, as we yell out driver or passenger, that's the way we want you to steer. So right now, go driver. Because you're not straight.
And there, he's just reset the steering, and he's on the right alignment. It's one of the things when you're in the car, it's not always easy to know exactly what direction the front wheels are pointing. Particularly if on the way into an obstacle, the steering wheel gets spun 360 degrees. So, yeah, very easy to do. I think we've all been there, done that. Speaking for myself, if there's a mistake to be made, I've probably made it. So after that, again, continuing heading south, you can see from the main track here has been softened up and dug out. I think that's even more so than when we were there in June, July. So obviously it's an area that does take in a lot of water. And a second lot of bog holes here, so you can see some of these still holding some water, that one on the right. And I'm pretty sure it was here that Adam, on our last visit, took that left line and nearly got well and truly stuck. So again, there's a pretty well-worn path through some ruts here, which I've elected to follow. Now at this point too, I'm running the 31s road bias all-terrain tyres that came with the vehicle. I have recently put 33s on there, so we have a bit more clearance, but these road bias all-terrains, really impressed with the job they've done in the first several months of driving the 76, that's for sure. And just follow that straight through and out the other side. Again, a lot easier than it was during June, July when it was wet, slippery, and a lot more hazardous. Plenty of traction, you can see exactly how deep everything is. It's really, yeah, just a lot easier to drive. So Paul bringing the FJ through. And again, he's crawling through there at a good pace. Curls all around. And when he gets down towards this back section though, he does decide to take an alternate line and take that shorter, more direct route. And he's had no real issues there with clearance anyway. And Matt bringing the Troopy through. Trusty 75 series Troopy. Quite nicely. More than a little wheel lift just there. On the exit. Doesn't stop him just driving out nice and steady though, twin locked as he is. GU making short work of it as you would expect. And he's opted to follow Paul and take that alternate line to the right.
Scraping there.
A couple of little diff marks maybe, but he hasn't really had too much in the way of issue there at all. And last but certainly not least, we've got Dan in the Iron Emu. With ease, nicely piloted. They're an older rig now, the 90 series Protos, but very, very capable, and for the age of the vehicle, really good traction control, which, yeah, Dan's been pretty happy, I think, with the performance of this vehicle. A couple of basic mods with a decent suspension kit, and obviously a bull bar and winch for the front with a snorkel, and the roof rack for a bit of storage. But, you know, it just goes to show you don't have to go out and spend really big dollars on a new four-wheel drive to get out there. That 90 series is going all the places the rest of the vehicles are going, and in some cases does a better job than my 70 series does. So back on the main track, heading south, and again the theme of the track splitting doesn't really let up through this section. Obviously there's an easy option on the left there to follow the main track, but it's not like this right hand line is particularly difficult either. And at this point I'm still learning to drive, even now I'm still learning to drive the 70 off-road, so I've taken this opportunity just to practice and see how much clearance it's got, and where the diffs scrape and when they don't, all those sorts of things that you've got to learn about your vehicle when you're driving it, and just how it handles different terrain. You know, I've had nearly 5 years in the padge to understand the capabilities of that vehicle, and I've still got a lot of learning to do in the 70, not the least of which is gear change and gear selection. But generally here, yeah, we were able to maintain a pretty good pace. And the track does continue to vary, like you get that hard packed clay stuff, then some dirt, and then before you know it you're back onto some soft sand like this. It really does sort of keep you guessing. And you certainly need to be paying attention to what's coming up ahead as well. Certainly going to inform your line choice and which side of the track you might choose to take. So this part of the track, as you can see, is pretty much a strip of land between farmland. Again, there's probably an easier line there on the left. I've opted to take this straight through option on the right, and again this is really just about me practicing driving this vehicle and getting used to, you know, where it makes contact and how deep the ruts can be, and you know whether any of the panels are likely to hit or the side steps on this sort of stuff. So you can certainly take that easier line around. But when the opportunity's there, I'm certainly going to take it to get better at driving this vehicle. And look, in terms of capability, given this is basically a stock 70, no lift, road terrain tyres, I've been really happy with how it performs. You know, no traction control, no lockers. Been really, really happy with the vehicle. Just a nice shot here of the convoy continuing on. Of course, at this point you start to think, hey, we're kind of done with the border track, it's let go of us. You know, we're over all the obstacles, and that's not quite the case. So back on board here with Luca. Dan kindly filmed that for us. That's Dan and the Iron Emu there heading away. And Luca was tucked in behind Dan, so waited up as well, which is why there was only the three of us in that shot. And as I said, you think the track's done with you, but it's not. So another section here where you've got ruts on both sides. Really wasn't sure how deep, soft and slippery that might have been, so went into it and was ready to give it a bit of gusto to get out. So again, this is a bit of a choose your own adventure in terms of what's the best option here. So that's the main track just over there on the right, and to me taking this route around seemed like a good idea, but as you're about to see, Paul just showed me it was probably easier just to go straight down the main track. So there's Paul coming on the main track, and he's just set up and spanned that nicely like he's driving on a highway. Ultimately that was probably easier, but I think I probably thought I was going to stay on the other side, but that got worse and this side was easier, so I ended up coming back to this side anyway. So sometimes that's the joy of being the front vehicle. And you can see just how long these ruts are through here. Like in winter, this is a whole different ball game. And there's ruts both sides now, so you really don't have much of an option, and it'd be a lot harder to do what Paul's doing and sit up and span it in winter as well, because this whole area is probably full of water and it's a lot harder to see where the ruts are. And here we are approaching the end of the official part of the main border track. Interestingly, the sign there says no through road. Somebody's modified it a little bit, no rough road. I don't think that's right either. It's definitely a through road and it's definitely rough. So anyway, you get that. So out here we're back onto a nicely made gravel road, and not too far from Blue Hills Road. It's a couple of k's down here where we turned off last time. So we've elected to pull in here and air up. So I've decided to stop this video here. This day is a longer day, and there's a lot still to happen, that's for sure, in this day. So we will stop the video here at the end of this main section of the border track. It was a logical place to stop. Hope you guys are enjoying this. Really appreciate the people giving me feedback in the comments that they're enjoying this series. We certainly love the trip. It's been a great trip. So please like this video if you like it. If you haven't already, think about subscribing to the channel. It really helps us out. If you want to support the channel directly, you can jump onto our Buy Me a Coffee page where you can pick up stickers, patches, or just buy me a virtual coffee and help us to keep doing what we're doing. So yeah, look forward to reading your comments, guys, and we will see you in the next video. As always, thanks for watching.